Hello and welcome to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament weekly broadcast. This is Nightcat and I will be your host for today. And today we're returning a little bit back to the way I used to do these a bit more, where this is going to be, edited together, the fancy transitions in between the matches and all that fun stuff. So we're back at it here. For our first game this week, we have SDS, which is a human player spawning as the red Terran up at the top left of Fighting Spirit, going up against Crazio, spawning as the yellow Terran down in the bottom left. And I have to say that having joined and played a season of the Coach People League, also known as CPL, it was their season 7, I've gained a new appreciation for TVT, and I find it to be a very enjoyable matchup to at least participate in and play. As far as watching, it can vary, but actually I still enjoy watching TVT. It sort of depends a little bit on the level of players as well. The level that I'm at sometimes is not fun to watch. Just because when you get players sitting doing absolutely nothing, that can be a little hard to commentate, because you're like, well, what do I talk about? Nobody's doing anything. But here we do have the players doing stuff. So we've got looks like a second barracks coming down. Let me bring that production tab up here, and we'll just toss that down there by the mini-map. That's not where I want it. I want you over here. There we go. So actually, no, that's a factory, so it doesn't look like a 2 barracks play, but we are getting a 2 factory out of Crazio. Meanwhile, SDS here went for a very quick expand. I think this was a gasless expand, if I'm not mistaken, just based on the fact that the command center is already done at this point in the game. So it did have to get a bunker for safety. And the first vulture is now out for Crazio. Crazio has found SDS. SDS has not found Crazio yet. But this vulture is going to go ahead and sit at home, not going to try and press the issue and see if there's anything that Crazio could do. We do have now 2 factories coming down here for SDS. It looks like out of this, probably, what was it, like a 12 or probably a 14 command center. Looks like SDS is going to follow up with factories, which if Crazio is not going to do any sort of pressure here, then, SDS is going to be able to get away with that a little bit more. But it looks like Crazio is going to be applying pressure here. It did go for a 2 factory. And unfortunately, I don't think SDS was able to confirm that SCV did not get very far in there. And thus, did not confirm that there was no expansion there at the natural. And so here we have siege mode just finishing up, it looks like, for Crazio. And Crazio is going to lay siege to this bunker here. And something that was recommended to me when I asked about this, it's gonna have to really throw the okay, we do have a Wraith coming in here, but the Wraith could have maybe been faster if instead of 2 factories SDS had gone for 1 factory and got the Wraith right away. But the Wraith should be able to repel this once it is out, as there is no anti-air. But if SDS had gone 1 factory to Starport, this would get pushed back a little bit faster. But now we do have SDS trying to lay down some mines, getting a few down, but the mines really weren't quite able to affect anything. And I think here, let's see if there's research. So siege mode is on the way. It's about halfway done. Yeah, this natural is going to have to go ahead and be abandoned. So even if Crazio doesn't win the game here, it's really done the damage that it needs to in order to, have negated this very fast expansion. Because we can see behind this Crazio just now getting their natural up, and with the Wraiths actually getting now turrets back at home. Goliath's on the way for Crazio as well as Valkyrie. So the Wraith advantage is going to be lost here very quickly. There's 1 Valkyrie out on the map targeting the barracks though, but yeah, there's a lot of siege tanks. I don't think Crazio is going to be able to push into this natural, but as long as Crazio doesn't lose too much here and just keeps SDS contained into their main, there's not really going to be a whole lot that SDS can do here. And SDS trying to make work some magic there with those 3 Wraiths, but yeah, I think the very fast expand here is not going to fare well against the 2 factory work here by Crazio. And Crazio actually only has 1 tank down there right now, and a scan coming down probably, I think, from SDS there. Just checking what was on that low ground, trying to see if we can go ahead and if they can push out here. They do get some mines, some siege shots off on that tank, able to take that out, but there's few more tanks here, and they're able to shell that command center freely. Some damaged mech units for SDS as well that could... They're trying to keep this command center down and throwing a lot of money into the repairs. Could just lift it, but instead we've got 4 SCVs here trying to keep it alive. And actually, they are out repairing the damage here right now. And it looks like more tanks of SDS are moving up here. The supply is looking a bit in favor of SDS here. Like one less worker. The supplies were slightly ahead for SDS, but now Crazio is starting to come out ahead. Crazio also starting up their third base here, as we can see at their now what I would call like their natural third on fighting spirit. And SDS is kind of able to push Crazio back a bit here, back to this bridge. So if SDS can get this natural established, they'll still be behind, but you know, they'll have like a fighting chance in this game, I think, here. So we'll see if they're able to do that. Looks like the line's kind of getting drawn here. SDS does have this high ground as a little bit of an advantage. Tried to land a command center over at the third, but it does get found by the vultures that were out, laying mines all around the map here. Now a fourth actually being started for Crazio here. And we just checked the factory count right now. SDS is at 4 factories, and Crazio is at 4 factories as well. Some interesting placement of those factories, but one advantage the AI has is that it doesn't have to click to select their production facilities. So if they're a bit spread out, it's less impactful to the AI players than it would be, say, for a human player. And this command center just under constant repairs here. A lot of idle SCVs here at the natural, going ahead and getting those into the mineral line here. Some wraiths trying to do some harass here, forcing some turret to have to be thrown down here. And it looks like there's some fighting going down here, and actually getting this maybe established here, this third base, very important here for SDS to do. But there's still this very large tank line here for Crazio that's just going to be a bit of a challenge for SDS to try and push out of here. Goliath's trying to keep the vision for these tanks back a bit, and the command center's taking some damage here from the tanks, with the repairs not happening right now because the command center had reached full health, and so it stopped, but got the repairs back on in time. I was a little bit worried that natural command center was going to fall. And there is a wall there that these 2 vultures just do not understand is the case. And actually now coming in and attacking, they do have vision up there because of this mine. They're going to go ahead and struggle to try and get up there. Sparrock's starting to burn down a little bit here, but okay, we do have a couple of dropships loading up here. We'll see what SDS wants to do with them, but a Wraith is actually going to catch them here. I'm going to try and drop on the low ground here, but yeah, there's a Wraith there now with nothing that can defend that tank. Vulture's trying to break down the depot wall here. Crazio actually expanded now to the middle as well for a 5th base, so Crazio is looking very much in control here, forcing even more repairs on this. The main, I think, is just about mined out here, so I don't think there's much that SDS can do at this point in this game. And I think probably coming up towards the end here, science vessels are out. SDS trying to make a move out here, but yeah, just too much of an arc here. Very well played by SDS, but unfortunately just not enough. Doing that very fast expand up against the 2 factory build just did not work out in the end. Crazio even starting up another base here, so very awesome game. We'll go ahead and jump into game number 2 for today. Right, and for our second game today here, we have our fastest possible map showing up again here. We've got Crazio spawning as the red Terran down in the bottom right. And we've got Snail spawning as the green Zerg down in the bottom left. And per the name Snail, this is another human versus AI game that we have here. And for 2 weeks in a row, and it was my fault, we had the same fastest possible map game played. It was the last one in my last cast, and then it happened again when Chobo did his, it was the first game of his because I forgot to mark that one as having been cast in Discord, so that was my fault. But this is definitely a different fastest game, but now fastest because of that mistake has appeared in 3 casts in a row. And right now I think Crazio is the only AI to have the map enabled for play, so that's why we're pretty much just seeing Crazio as the AI. It looks like Snail here is starting a middle hatchery, maybe going ahead and to start another one, or that might be just to get like a sunken colony or something like that. We do have some additional hatcheries going on back home as well. The spawning pool just finishing up here. So Zerg really kind of wanting to like very aggressively and forwardly. Okay, so we're getting our sunkens and everything. I don't know if the player knows where Crazio is just yet. No, actually the way that Overlord is positioned, I believe that the player does indeed know where Crazio is. But yeah, I think Snail is not fearing any sort of early aggression from Crazio. So gonna go ahead and try and sunken up this middle here, I think, to buy time for just the overwhelming macro you can get going on the fastest map as Zerg in order to get that going here. So looks like Crazio has a couple of barracks here, so going for like a biomech play, probably going ahead and getting that factory. That's usually what Crazio will go for. A couple of idle drones here in the middle, but no big deal. We have 2 gas going right now. Is a sunken back home as well, just for a little bit of additional defense there. Looks like lair is started for the Zerg. We've got a lot more colonies coming up here, so the Zerg really trying to just set up something here to contain the ground army of Crazio, or at the very least delay it for quite a bit. Here we have a few more sunkens morphing here, turning the map into a little bit of like a campaign looking map here. And this poor SCV is like, I want to go home, but I can't go home because there's all these sunkens here in the way. Then this other SCV is like, I want to go in and scout more, but there's a scary sunken colony. I don't want to be pierced by the sunken colony. It's scary. Here we do have some more turrets coming down. Looks like science facility is started, so Crazio is getting, it looks like, so has siege mode, has stim, getting that irradiate. So that way they'll be able to handle any packs of mutas or any lurkers or defilers potentially. There are 2 spires down now, and it looks like ground air is started. Air attack and air defense is started here, and there's some more spore colonies going down and a queen's nest now, so we might actually get to see hive starting up pretty soon here. Looks like Crazio might be about ready to move out, but it's gonna have to deal with this little tiny choke here and trying to get those tanks in range, and there's a lot of sunkens here, so we'll see how Crazio decides to approach that once they do move out. And there is now one Wraith. The one Wraith is going to take these out because there's no anti-air, but now a spore colony, I believe, has started up here, and looks like some more creep colonies being thrown down as well. I don't think the Zerg player has built a single military unit just yet, just going for defensive structures and drones here so far in hatcheries. Really trying to get ready for just doing that massive production and just overwhelming the Terran player here. Now Crazio trying to move out a bit, but some of the Marines actually, the ball of Marines getting a little bit in the way here. Tanks can't quite get close enough to really clear this quickly, but they are slowly working it, losing a few bio units just because the ball is so thick. It's kind of going to have to happen here, and Irradiate goes down on the poor Overlord there. And it looks like Crazio trying to bust out here. And still no military units, but producing more and more of these colonies here, just trying to slow down this Terran push. And there's so many hatcheries back home if we go and take a look. This is the kind of production from Zerg that can just be scary, but so far still just drones. We're at like 66 workers right now. 10 workers just finished, as I said, so we're up to 76 right now. So we'll see here. A lot of them rushing up to the front here, just throwing down more colonies. Just really trying to slow this down. Even more drones. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it's kind of interesting. Don't know if the human player is just trying to beat Crazio without using any military units or what. We're getting upgrades. There's the mutas. There's the mutas. I was gonna say, if we look at the army, there's still no, oh, and there we go, more and more larvae being morphed into mutalisks. So there's gonna be a really huge mutalisk cloud. And what are the upgrades on those mutas? They're at 2-2 right now, 3-3 just starting. I don't know if Crazio's army is going to be able to handle that number of mutalisks. There's no Valkyrie right now on the map. A physics lab getting started here, so we might start see some battle cruisers get made. But Crazio is at 200 right now. Snail's almost maxed out, and now here we do have the swarm of mutalisks coming down. But there's irradiates. Oh, big irradiates wiping out the mutalisks. And now Snail just... And now another irradiate. Snail able to pull out that mutalisk really quickly, but now Ultralisk Cavern started. Tons and tons of Zerglings coming out for Snail here, but now trying with the mutas and the Zerglings at the same time here. This might see some headway here. The Zerglings could deal a lot of damage very quickly, and it looks like the Terran Force here now being overwhelmed just by the Zerglings. The mutalisks are cleaned up, but there's just so much death and destruction there. Crazio able to repel that attack in the end and is pushing forward again. Ultralisks are now here for the Snail, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's a lot of idle larvae still too, but really pushed for minerals here is the Snail player, and now Crazio is at the doorstep, is taking a has taken a second base in the right middle base here, and just, yeah, I don't think Snail is going to be able to repel this, but very interesting strategy seeing all those defensive structures in the middle there, and trying to like just delay the Terran while you build up your infrastructure with that. It's pretty interesting to see, and all of those irradiates just so quickly on all of the Ultralisks there. Yeah, Crazio is just gonna march here in the production tab kind of breaking a little bit here, but another starport coming down for Crazio. Crazio getting another factory, it looks like, as well. Actually, oh wait, sorry, that wasn't a physics lab, that was a covert ops, or did we get both? I guess we have ghosts on the field. I may have, I guess that, no, that's the physics lab. Okay, yeah, we did get both. There's the covert ops. Okay, I wasn't crazy. I just missed the covert ops getting put down here. But yeah, Crazio can't quite seem to get like past around here. But now that fresh round of Zerglings just got crushed there by Crazio, and Crazio now trying to march into the Zerg base, but there's just so many hatcheries and just so many waves of Zerglings can come out of it. This is just kind of crazy to watch here. Now we've got some Ultralisks popping as well, but they get a short work made of them quickly, or they get made of short work. I don't know, brain not working because there's just so much going on. Now we have Dark Swarm entering the field. Snail could turn this around. Crazio's units are just staying under the Dark Swarm here. Some of Snail's units are popping out of the Dark Swarm though, but if Crazio just marches into the... Okay, no, we do have Crazio backing up here now out of the Dark Swarm. There is still a few defilers on the field for the human player though, able to throw down some Dark Swarms. Dark Swarm might be what Snail needs to really turn this around. The Terran army is looking a heck of a lot smaller than it was just a few moments ago. Good plague going down there on those science vessels, forcing them back for repairs, but now we have Hydralisks. It's like the Zerg players thrown everything, including the kitchen sink at Crazio. We had the mass sunk spore wall, we had mass mutas, we had muta Zergling, we had Zergling Ultra and then Defilers, and I think the only thing they haven't built is Queens, if I'm not mistaken. It would be cool to see a few Queens with like spawn broodling, because why not? Oh, and we've got the Greater Spire on the way, so we could see some Guardians. And this is the furthest back that Crazy has been in a good while here. This Dark Swarm is really allowing the Snail player here to push this back, and the splash damage of the tank still putting in some work underneath that Dark Swarm. But while we do have a battle cruiser out on the field here, I'm trying to gauge what the upgrades are on it. I think it's at 0-0 right now. I don't see the air upgrades. Yeah, there is just a lot going on here, and a lot coming from just this constant wave. There's just constantly units coming in here from the Snail player. This makes me scared of what a Zerg AI could do on fastest map if it were playing something designed for it, because if a human player can just keep streaming... Oh, and we have actually now a stream of Zerglings up into this top left base, which doesn't have any workers at it, granted, but just a few structures up here, including a factory. That's going to get a bit cleaned up, but that diverting those units actually is allowing Crazio, I think, to kind of push back here. There's also just one Defiler here right now. We have some Scourge coming in, trying to get this battle cruiser. Oh, and Crazio able to keep that battle cruiser back and safe. It's just, wow, this is like Crazio. There was that one wave of Zerglings that went to another base, and then Crazio was able to just capitalize on that moment and just kind of come back up here. But now that there's another Defiler, I think the attacking also kind of petered out because there was no Defiler anymore with it all. But yeah, because the Terran army is just kind of struggling here to deal with the Dark Swarm. Really needs to keep those tanks sieged to deal with that splash or to deal out that splash damage. But yeah, once the Dark Swarm falls, the Zerg army just kind of melts very quickly. Wow, yeah, the Zerg army just trying to do what it can here to keep the Terrans at bay here. And again, the Crazio might kind of get foiled here on this bridge. He's not quite able to push all the way across it. Crazio is at 200 though, with 75 workers. It's actually doing a pretty decent job of keeping its money low too. Doesn't seem to be floating all that much. It's hard to see sometimes because of the production tab, but the Zerg player is floating a ton of gas right now, which is just kind of crazy to see. On 85 workers. Some good plagues going down here. The battle and restoration coming out now from the medics. Very, very cool to see that restoration getting put to use to sort of try and counteract that plague on those high priority units such as the battle cruisers. So they are pretty low, but now the Zerg able to push Crazio back here into the middle again, which is where they got to about before, when they then diverted their attack elsewhere. And then the attack kind of petered out here. I'm not sure if there's a... okay, there is a Defiler here nearby. Oh, and the Defiler gets picked off by the tanks. And so it's looking like, again, Crazio might be able to push back, but we just have now another fresh wave of Zerg incoming here. And some more Dark Swarms getting thrown down. And actually now we're all the way back to one of the chokes, the main choke of Crazio. So Snail might be able to push this Terran army back. It's a little bit like Starship Troopers here. Just tons and tons of Zerg just keep flooding in. This kind of makes me wonder what like a Zerg versus Terran would look like when they're both AI on this map. If you get like this sort of crazy production going on and just constant stream of units from both players, like... And now we have a short break here where Crazio's trying to move up a bit, but throwing down a few irradiates, but that's a lot of Ultralisks, and I bet those are fully upgraded Ultralisks at this point. There's the speed, there's the the Chitness armor, I believe it is. Only actually one melee attack though. Actually, no, those are Ling upgrades. Okay, no, yeah, they're like, what is that? Like 3-5, I think. Is the upgrade, like the plus they get from all the armor upgrades and the attack or something like that. Like they're fully upgraded Ultralisks, and this is the emptiest this middle has seemed. Oh, there were, hold on, when did that happen? Let's go back a bit here. Like 2 Guardians. When? So there's just 2 Guardians that snuck over here. And then they just start tearing this apart. While all that's going on in the main. And Crazio does nothing about them. Oh, this got taken out at some point too. Okay, there's a lot that has happened that I have missed in this game. But yeah, this is where the middle is looking pretty empty. And then the Zerg player is able to just start to come in here. Crazio still has a bunch of supplies, so I'm not sure. Or a bunch of like minerals and some gas available. Like, I don't know exactly what happened here. That Crazio kind of just stopped making units, but a very well fought game by the human player here. Now another fresh wave of Guardians coming in. I'm gonna have to like look at when this command center got destroyed, because holy heck, I was just so engrossed in the armies engaging each other, I did not even notice that. It looks like there's a transfer of workers going on here. But yeah, I think this is going to be it for Crazio. We've got Schnell now spreading out to the other bases. Yeah, and the Zerg infestation here is just going to win this one today, but very, very fun game to watch here. Just going to speed this up here to the end, and then I'm actually going to go back and try and find, like, where exactly that command center in the main got taken out and what did it. So, good game there by Schnell, really keeping up with Crazio there. Now, let's just see where that command center got. Okay, so it's still here. Those Guardians aren't here yet. I'm gonna speed up a bit here. There's all kinds of turrets. How did this get destroyed? Okay, we got some battle cruisers. Oh, wait, what was this? Oh, there's a whole flock of mutas I missed. Ah, okay, so at this point there's just like this flock of mutalisks. And that's when that got cleared out. And then these came up here, and those became Guardians. Okay. And all these turrets just could not stop those mutalisks from clearing that out. Dang, okay. Did Crazio attempt to repair this at all? Or it's really hard to see. Yeah, there were like no attempts to... I think if Crazio had, instead of running the SCVs away, if Crazio had attempted to order repairs on that command center, it might have been able to live. A very good game, nicely played by Schnell there, and we'll get into our game 3 here. So for our next game here, we have Banana Brain spawning as the red Protoss up at the top of Destination. And we have McRave Z spawning as the pale... pale yellow Zerg down in the bottom of destination. So we have ourselves, I think this is our first, yeah, this is our first AI versus AI game of today's cast. And destination's a pretty good old map. You have, you know, the ramp down to your low ground natural. You've got the double bridges here that you've got to cross to get out of that. There is also this back path here that's initially blocked off. Looks like we had the extractor trick here for an extra worker. So yep, McRaveZ up at the 10-9 supply. But you have these mineral patches here that you've got to mine out in order to get to that back entrance from your base. A little bit of harassing the probe scout there. Looks like we're going to go ahead and, so after this, looked like that was a 9 pull there, we're going to go ahead and throw down our natural hatchery. It looks like we're going to get 2 gate out of Banana Brain to open up, so 1 base opener there. We've got our Zerglings starting up here. And interestingly enough, we had our Zerglings come out, and we have a drone scout happening on a 2-player map where you know where your opponent's going to be, but this is going to see that there is no fast expand or expansion at all from this Protoss player. And the first Zealot is out, and looks like the second Zealot now is out as well. Got a dancing drone there. Meanwhile, McRaveZ here. The Zerglings look like they're jittering a little bit in a weird way, but they are moving up here. And that's this natural. We've got 4 Zealots, 4 Banana Brain out, and this natural here starting to come down. And something that I've been seeing, and I don't know if McRaveZ will do it in this game or not, is McRaveZ's been working on hiding behind a whole bunch of Sunkens to stay alive, tech up, and then just sort of overwhelm the opponent. Nice arc there forming with the Zerglings, and even considering the Sunken colony here. Very, very cool to see. Now, we do have a move out from the Protoss. Decent amount of Zealots here. Looks like maybe, well, there's 10 on the map, but I think this is probably, what, like 8 or 9 or so. Now, they're going to try and engage here. Looks like they should be able to take these Zerglings out, but there's just 3 Zealots left, and so really not going to be able to get a whole lot done. Don't even get a single drone, it looks like, so very, very favorable trade there for McRaveZ. The natural for Banana Brain is coming up behind this, though. The Cybernetics core, I think that just finished. Meanwhile, there are 3 gateways. It looks like Goon Range is not on the way just yet. Banana Brain going and continuing with that Zealot production, actually now getting a Stargate. Looks like there was a moment there where McRave was able to slip that drone out and get that 3rd before these Zealots could really get into position. So nice play there by McRaveZ, squeaking in that extra base. Zealots trying to do a run by. Very nice body blocking with the Zerglings. Unfortunately, they are going to be able to get in here. Do pick off the drone that was trying to clear that back entrance. And now there's nothing in this main to defend, so the drones, they really need to just pull back to the second base, trying to drone drill there, but all the drones just get eliminated. They're down to 11 workers here at the natural, but the Mutalisks are going to pop here, should be able to clean this and save this hatchery, but that's a lot of workers lost for McRaveZ. Meanwhile, back home, there is a Corsair here harassing this Scout Overlord. And a couple of cannons here. This base is a bit exposed. The main has a couple of cannons. But McRaveZ's Mutalisks are very, very, very dangerous, so really need to be careful up against them. They will pick your base apart so quickly. And here we have all these probes that are trying, I think, to transition to this base, just getting caught by the Mutalisks here because they're taking the long way around instead of clearing this out, so that's a bit unfortunate to see. Now, the Mutalisks being able to be chased away here by the Corsair swarm, which is about 3 large, so good playing there by Banana Brain, keeping those Corsairs alive from those Scourge. Meanwhile, this 3rd base is getting set up here by McRave. We do have a couple more Sunkens coming down, so this isn't like the mass Sunken that I was seeing some previews of in regards to, I think it was the COG tournament, I want to say. Few more drones get picked off, but ultimately I think McRave able to stabilize here and really trying to grow that Mutalisk cloud. There's a couple of Mutalisks there just waiting to heal up. Now we do have the Mutalisks here trying to see if there's something they could do in the main, but not really. It looks like Banana Brain's going to go ahead and start taking its 3rd. This mineral only back, or sorry, its 4th. This mineral only 3rd back here. Looks to be pretty established at this point and going strong. We do have some Corsairs getting caught out alone. There's only 2 Corsairs right now out there. There is a Dark Templar. It looks like actually Banana Brain's army is not very large right now. Very, very pressed for gas. Seems to be floating a lot of minerals. Oh, wait. Oh, there's a little spot here where this Dark Templar has been able to do some work and sort of disrupt this natural, but needs to be careful because, you know, there are overlords within sight range for these Sunkens to be able to do some things, but there's like the spot here where this Dark Templar can get some kills, and I kind of wish I could see the kill count on it. Actually, I think it's better that it doesn't get this extractor because it just keeps McRaveZ sending drones to this extractor to kill it. Now there is a Mutalisk. They're taking some shots, and so the Dark Templar decides to kill that extractor. But that's really hurt McRaveZ, down to 20 workers right now. This natural not mining right now, so it's kind of like being on 2 bases, but extractor going up at the 3rd, which I don't know if Banana Brain knows that 3rd is there or not yet. It hasn't really decided or tried to touch it. Now we do have some more army coming across the middle of the map here. Another group of zealots, it looks like a train of them coming down, trying to take some, really prioritizing the drones here, keeping that drone count low. Good play there by Banana Brain, but a little bit of non-commit, or like being non-committal there, causing some extra damage on these zealots that was not needed. But there's just so many zealots here and so few Mutalisks. There is also Mutalisks trying to deal with an army in the middle, but the natural is just being wiped out here by Banana Brain. And that's actually that was the lair. McRaveZ having to start another lair. Now we're back to the drone drills here in the main, but yeah, there's just so many zealots. This is just gonna, they're just gonna get wiped out. And for a moment it almost looked like the drones popping out with the extractor bug there, where your opponent gets like 400 plus drones. But yeah, I think this is pretty much gonna be it for McRaveZ here. We even have now the Reaver Shuttle here in play. And yeah, a bit quicker of a game to this one than the ones that we were watching before. But yeah, GG there by Banana Brain, able to, you know, bring a win for the Protoss here. Actually, wait, what this? Oh, this spawning pool is still alive as the last of the Mutalisks get cleaned up. Banana Brain wanted to make sure I got every single scrap of McRaveZ cleaned up there before the game ended. GG. Just very fun game there. For a bit it looked a bit worrisome for Banana Brain because the army was so slow, but Banana Brain able to turn it around and get that win. Right, and for what might be our last game for the day, depends on how long this game is, if we can squeeze the second one in or not. So I'm gonna have to try and keep an eye on that. We have Haupan spawning as the blue Terran down at the bottom right, which is the bot that started as a fork of Iron and has really become its own really strong AI in the scene. And now we have Monster spawning as the white Zerg up at the top left. I also want to give a quick apology here at this point in the cast. I know my audio has probably been all over the place for some reason. I just can't get the balance like the way I like, and I'm having some issues. I am trying to adjust in between matches and try and get it right, so hopefully the next week that I do this it'll be a bit better, just overall, and hopefully by now I've got it right. I think I've got figured out sort of what was going on. Hoping to goodness I don't have to replace this microphone. But we do have the drone scout going out that we are kind of following here, that I can't right click follow like you can in remaster, which just makes me sad. Gas just finishing up here for Haupan, so Haupan is going to be going, it looks like, for that that mech play for Terran instead of a bio heavy build. We do have the scout here going out, the scout with the mineral patch being held. Well, it's not really mineral patch because the mineral patch is one of these things, but you know what I mean. It's the 8 mineral cluster that they pluck from the grasps of the clutches of the patches there, but whatever. Anyway, we got a game to play here, or cast here rather. Extractor going down, third hatchery rather actually coming down, so we've got some form of 3 hatch play coming out of Monster, which Monster is a really strong AI that plays very human-like, so Looks like the lair is started. I'm wondering, this is probably going to be 3 hatch Muta. I would suspect there was something canceled here. It looks like, oh, bunker was started probably and then was canceled when no Zerglings were observed for quite some time, because the vulture should be out in time to stop any shenanigans from Zerglings. It looks like the command center was started up on the high ground here as safety, which will delay things a little bit, but ultimately shouldn't be too big of a deal here for Haupan. And the vultures are out. The vulture sees it can't go in. Nice ramp block there to prevent any run-bys of the vultures. And actually, do we have speed or anything? Nope. Okay, because we don't have, we just got the machine shop. What are we getting though? We're getting mines actually. Okay. Interesting choice. It's not going for Charon boosters. You would use normally with this sort of mech play against Zerg. Actually, what is the upgrade? It's okay. So it is getting plating, but it's not getting the boosters, so it might have a hard time against the Mutalisks here. So we'll really have to see how that plays out. And if I were to recommend like a small tweak to the author of Haupan, I would go for those Charon boosters first instead of mines, just because you want those Charon boosters to be done before those Mutalisks are hitting your base. But now we do have the Mutalisks out on the map. They are coming across. Charon boosters about halfway down, so it might finish up in time. But what is our Goliath count? Our Goliath count's only 2 right now, so really gonna have to rely on those turrets. And the turrets are very, very few and far between. There's only 1 turret here. The Mutalisks are doing quick work here, and yeah, these Goliath Charon boosters not quite finished yet, so that they're not really able to get a lot off, and all the workers at the natural pretty much just melted. Yeah, very, very strong play there by Monster. Very nice. Charon boosters is finished now. The Goliath count is kind of growing here, so. But again, there's only a couple of turrets here. These Mutalisks finding some space here to sort of deal some damage. There's an additional. Actually, this looks like a 5 factory push, which is pretty fun. Although there is a second machine shop down, which you normally wouldn't get in a 5 factory timing push. But there's still enough time here. Siege mode should. Oops, didn't mean to open up that. Siege mode should probably be started here pretty soon. Looks like the lurker transition is happening. There is the siege mode. So yeah, I think this is indeed like the 5 factory. Excuse me, timing push. But the Goliath count's very, very low. You should be like well over 12 Goliaths at this point, I think, for that type of push. There's 3 machine shops down right now, and now trying to move across the map. This is a very, very small Terran force. Very worried for it. It's also getting split up here because of these Mutalisks that are picking off Goliaths where they can find them one-on-one. Well, that's, I guess it's not one-on-one when there's how many Mutalisks there. Defilers coming out already. Monster always very, very quick to get into that Hive and Defiler play. Dealt with, a couple of mines. Only got 3 Zerglings though. This very impressive arc there, just moving forward of Zerglings in formation. That was very, very cool to see. And yeah, the Terran army just getting caught here in the middle. Suffering very heavy losses, but the Zerg army was kind of reset too. But it's more impactful for the Terran army to be ending up getting reset there than it is for the Zerg army, I think. And there's still vultures out on the map causing some issues here for Monster, but and then we do have the Dark Swarm coming down here into play, gonna push the Terran army back here, and it's not gonna be good once Dark Swarm has reached the natural of the Terran player. Yeah, and the Goliath's actually not getting in range to fire, or actually no, there's no detection. Comsat's just finally going down, so the scan going off. That's why that Goliath or those lurkers were getting all those free shots. There's no science facility. Yeah, no science facility out for Haupan, so vessels can't be there. Trying to take their third, but without that mobile detection, only has scans to rely on, and scans a pretty limited resource given that the Comsat's just finished up moments ago. And yeah, that third's gonna have to be abandoned here. Monster showing some very, very strong play here. Some scary play here, actually. Gonna push this Terran army back into its natural here. And yeah, there's really not a lot that can be done here. You've got swarms at your natural choke. The Terran army doesn't look too bad, but the Zerg army is just way too strong. And there's some more vultures trying to, like, not being part of the main army, but are trying to do some harassment work, which is causing Monster to sort of keep some of its army back. But now we just have this flood of lings across the map here. There's so much swarm stacked on top of itself here. Just, yeah, this is not a good looking situation. Halpon, it looks like, did try to take a third here, but there's this burrowed Zergling. Or, oh no, never mind, that's a starport. I don't know why there's a starport out there, but okay. Maybe they just felt there was nowhere in the main to put it, and so that's where it ended up putting it. Now there's this huge contingent here coming to clean this up. And the science facility was getting started too, so yeah, that's the first starport for Halpon. And the Zergling's not quite sure what to do. Not quite making up their mind on if they want to commit to killing that or not. And it looks like they did back off in the end. Now there's just a lot of army movement here in the middle. Monster's throwing down swarms wherever it can, trying to engage with the Terran army, and just... That's just, I don't know what to say, because there's just so much going on right now. I've got this... Where is the... Oh, trying to chase that Goliath down. Finally gets it. There we have, like, what is that, 5? Oh, they kind of make me think of, like, those... I don't know exactly what they're called, but I call them 1,000-leggers. Like, sometimes find them in the... Like in the bathroom, like especially in the bathtub, just the little wiggly bugs. Like that's what those defilers make me think when they were coming straight down. But I mean, there is blue still out on the map. We've got packs of vultures and such, but like, yeah, the Terran army normally would want to be more like a cohesive ball than I think like a more spread out force. There's a lot of mines. Well, maybe not a lot of mines. There's like 3 mines. There's 2 mines here. We've got queens out now for Monster, which is something that you'll typically see in response to mech play. But back home, there's really not a lot. The main... Oh. Never mind. This desynced. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, I don't think this replay is accurate to what happened, unfortunately. Because see how, like, these guys... Well, now they're moving, so maybe it hasn't desynced. New units are still doing stuff. The Zerg... Actually, no, you know what? I don't think it desynced, because the Zerg is still morphing things, so... Just a little bit of odd behavior there, I think, from Halpon's SVs. Yeah, now they're all kind of moving. Alright. There was no desync. Yay! But, very strong play here from Monster. Just shows how scary playing Monster can be. And there's the spawn broodling that we did not have in the first game, or sorry, the second game from the human Zerg player on the fastest map. So now we have seen everything that this, just about everything, we're still missing like Ensnare, but just very, very strong performance from Monster there. We'll go ahead and speed this up to the end, and I believe we do have time for one more game, so let's go ahead and get into it. Our final game of today, we have a rematch between these two. On La Mancha, we have Halpon spawning as the blue Terran up at the top left of the map, and we have Monster spawning as the red Zerg up at the top right. So we don't have cross spawns this time. We have the top versus bottom colors of red versus blue, which is pretty nice. And blue is a little bit easier to see on the desert map, I think, maybe? Yeah, so it looks like we're going to get probably another mech opening from Halpon. We have the very forward barracks here, and then this is a scout. Excuse me, it looks like we're not gone for a while. We're getting supply depot up in the main. I got faked out. But here we have the SV. Gonna go ahead and find the Zerg. Sees maybe that quick hatchery coming down at the natural. Can see the lack of it goes down and confirms that's there. He decides to go ahead and just harass it instead of watching for that spotting pool timing. But going to be able to put some hurt on that hatchery there, as there's not going to be any zerglings or anything to defend for a little bit with that the spawning pool coming when it did. But it shouldn't really be a problem. SCV shouldn't be able to kill that hatchery really, so should be all good in the end. Second supply depot coming down. We've got a few Marines coming. Bunker on the way. Oh, actually forcing the cancel. Very nice play there. Going actually for very early aggression here and forcing Monster to have to adapt here and go into one base play. Very interesting. Now, the Zerglings could run past this bunker, but they're going to suffer some losses and really be beat up if they do so. There's no SCV there to repair, so once the Zerglings get up enough, they should be able to break out of this. And now actually Halpod floating the barracks back home. It's a little bit susceptible at the moment to a run by, but very, very interesting play here. We've got very different looking game right now. They were thinking about it, but there are a couple of SCVs now close nearby, using that mineral walk to their advantage. And yeah, it looks like trying to keep the SCVs, I think, actually safe just by holding them back a little bit. We can't see how many Marines there are, but there's only the one SCV, so now that is going to fall, and there's a lot of Zerglings out there. Gonna try and chase to, oh, nice little sandwich there by the vultures, but that one vulture letting them all go by. Actually was pretty low on health. I imagine we're getting mines again. Actually, we're not getting anything just yet. We looks like the machine shop, it is busy. Just, it is spinning. Oh, siege mode started first. Okay. This could actually be kind of bad here for Halpon. The unit's actually getting into the main here. There's nothing in that bunker, but it is distracting Monster to where it keeps trying to kill the bunker, and now there is a Marine in there, so Halpon should be able to survive this. But we're still one base versus one base. What is this, like early 2000s? Like when was it that play really shifted from like one base play to multi-base play? It's just kind of funny that both players are still one base here, but understandably so given the events of the game so far. Looks like we have Hydra play instead of Muta play here. So siege mode, definitely a good decision there by Halpon. Going to be able to handle these Hydralisks as long as it can keep the Hydralisks and the Zerglings off of the tanks. Now Halpon able to repel Monster back a bit here. Maybe being able to claim this natural now. Does start the command center up on the high ground just to be safe in case they get overwhelmed on the lower ground. And Monster is still just on the one base here. And there's two vultures here that are just kind of taking some pot shots off on some things that might run by on occasion. Oh no, and Monster able to get on top of the tanks here. The tanks were left with no support, and it's gonna just delay Halpon taking that natural even more. Monster getting a little greedy there again, trying to get up that ramp, but Halpon able to go ahead and repel it. Halpon trying to take this natural again, but there's a lot of Hydralisks here. There's no support for these tanks. Yeah, and the tanks just get taken out again. Hydralisks are backing off though. I think the vultures here are really screwing with Monster's decision making in terms of should I commit to attacking or should I retreat. So I think these Hydralisks here keep getting pulled back whenever these vultures get too close to the main. It's kind of interesting to see now Monster actually getting a third hatchery in the main. Has a lurker aspect. Lurker aspect has not been researched. Halpon finally getting into the, Monster finally getting into this natural here, which it could have done for quite some time. Working on that, on lowering the worker count of Halpon here. His tank on the high ground trying to save what it can, but I think this command center is going to fall. Unless the Hydralisks get too distracted by the tanks and stuff, and then it might not fall. Looks like Monster is just starting its natural again. So Monster trying to transition into having 2 bases here. There is a decent amount of tanks here, but no Goliaths to support. Throwing down some mines. They're a little bit dangerously close to tanks now. The tank's actually going in front of the mines here, trying to get out onto the map. Looks like Halpan's actually starting a third, which has been found by the Zerg, so going to go ahead and deny that pretty quickly there. The natural is up and was able to pretty much be saturated quickly there because there was like kind of a backup of drones as well in the main, which you don't normally see with Zerg. And now we have this force here starting to lay siege to this choke at the second. Looks like Monster trying to go ahead and take a third as well. I thought Halpan was trying to expand again, but it doesn't quite look like it. And now this natural might actually fall for Monster. The tank's trying to push up into the main, though, instead of prioritizing killing that natural. And some Zerglings able to push it back. There's not really a whole lot of cover here for the tanks, but there is still just a large number of them in general. Halpan does take out that natural. There is the third base, though, at least a hatchery there for Monster. So now Mulisks are out and there are no Goliaths. Very smart move there by Monster. This should shut this push down completely. And I'll tell you what, these two up against each other, they're putting up heck of a good games. The first game we watched, now the second one's just very good overall from both players. His third does get discovered. So we'll see if Halpan wants to clean it up. Okay, there we go. Now that tank's sieging up. There is no anti-air here, though. So these Mutalisks are able to sort of lower this tank count slowly. Halpan needs like a dedicated round to like Goliaths. And now this main is mined out here. But it looks like Halpan trying to establish this other main. But do they have... Is there an engineering bay now? I don't know. There is... Or yeah, there is one because there are some turrets. But it actually might have got sniped. I'm not sure where it is. I am not seeing it. But this Mutalisk, I wish I could see the kill count on it because it's maybe actually not that high because the weak ones are getting pulled back and then there's some repairs going on. There is an occasional SCV dying, but there's still a vulture on the high ground here dancing around, causing some troubles for Monster. And it's funny, we can see this little moment here where there was creep down here and it cleared, but this creep is close enough that it gets to live because there's nearby hatcheries. So just a little bit of silly brood warness there. It looks like Halpan trying to do something about this other base, but doesn't really have any tanks. And actually the tank count very low, just 3 for Halpan. So Monster doing a really good job of cleaning those tanks up. That just looked silly the way those were stacked and moving. But yeah, Monster doing a really good job cleaning up the tanks, keeping that tank count low. And Halpan now is kind of struggling with what to do, where to hit. Doesn't have much of an army. Still has a Mutalisk here. There's no turrets being placed. There's just one lone Mutalisk just causing so much trouble. If Halpan just produced a Goliath down here, it could probably chase this Mutalisk away. Yeah, I mean, we've got 4 machine shops on like 3 gas, one of which really isn't operational. So Monster's looking a lot more stable right now. Still just on the 2 bases, and actually this main's almost mined out, so it might come down to like a mine out situation here and who has more mining bases than the other. I'm surprised that Monster hasn't tried to expand anywhere else, but I guess it really can't afford to. Oh, there's the engineering bay. Hanging out with that overlord down in the bottom right. So we have found the mysterious engineering bay. But yeah, Monster's trying to deal with these vultures that are just kind of running around and having some issues with it. Which is maybe preventing Monster from deciding to take a third. Actually, now the main is mined out. from the Zerg, which is something you don't see very often in this matchup, and even in AI versus AI, this sort of weirdness happening. And now the Mutalisk's trying to harass in this natural. There's still no Goliaths out for Halpan, which is just very unfortunate to see. Just taking a look at the upgrades here, it is 1-1 currently for Halpan. It looks like the Mutalisk here either left or got cleaned up. It's hard to say, given that there is no Goliaths really. There is like a Marine somewhere, probably, or 4 Marines, probably in that bunker back at the main. But yeah, Halpan, if this continues the way that it is, I think Halpan is, yeah, at an advantage here. And actually now Monster is making some more Mutalisks, but there are vultures in the main that were working on this hatchery and actually killing larva. The larva that's almost dead there. Which vultures are surprisingly good at killing larvae. But now we have a large Mutalisk. There's 28 Mutalisk on the field, and I think almost all of them are here. So this is a very large Mutaforce that I don't think Halpan can really deal with. And the fact that it's producing 4 tanks right now and no Goliaths. Jeez, this is like... Now we've got Spawn Broodling, which could actually be the game changer here, just because the Queen's energy will recharge over time at no additional cost to the Zerg. So if the Zerg is unable to produce more military units, it could just continue to wipe out the Terran units with that Spawn Broodling ability. But it looks like the Vultures, again, being able to throw some of their fragmentation grenades, I believe they are called, on those hatcheries, or on that hatchery rather. And looks like Halpan wants to be able to dive in, goes in and takes out that tank, but yeah, it's just very strange game here. This second base here for Zerg is getting harassed a bit by these vultures, but the drones are relatively safe. This patch here is maybe slightly in danger, but just from vultures, probably not. Now we have a stream of vultures coming in here, deciding to back off. They don't want to engage because of those sunken colonies. And Halpan's just not able to get tanks out onto the field because of the Mutalisks here. So this is an interesting game. Now we do have 1-2 tanks here, but as soon as Mutalisks find them, there's nothing to stop the Mutalisks from killing them. As Halpan has just said, you know what, I took the G key out of my keyboard. I am not building a single Goliath. Except for like one that I built early. Wait, is that a hive? Excuse me, Monster. Are you getting a hive while you have just one mining base? I mean, fair enough. More power to you, I guess. It's a very, very interesting game here. Here, the Mutalisk Cloud wants to dive in again, takes out the tanks that have been made, and is going to go back. So we're kind of in this loop here, where Mutalisks are hunting down the tanks and killing them before they can really lay siege to the base. This hatchery's almost falling. But again, there's still no anti-air here. Vulture does get caught. This hatchery might live. We will see here if the hatchery lives or not. Tank getting sniped by the Mutalisks yet again before it can really do any damage. And now the tanks are continuing to just get sniped as they try and cross the map. Those glaive worms just all flying at the tanks and like essentially one-shotting the tank because there's so many. Jeez, all 3 of those units were killed with just one shot from all those Mutalisks. That is crazy. That is such a scary flock of mutas. There's like probably 42 Mutalisks. What is this game even? And now Spawn Broodling coming out here again for the Zerg. There's just so many Mutalisks here. I don't even think you could get enough Goliath at this point. But kind of the trump card that Halpan has is this bottom left. That's just some additional minerals and gas that will keep Halpan alive a little bit longer than the Zerg player, I think. Although Monster, if it gets this natural, this could be a problem for Halpon if this natural is able to get established. This hatchery finally did get taken out, but I think Monster's going to win this in the end, it looks like. Halpon just not getting the right unit composition at all. It has 0 anti-air and is dealing with a giant amount of Mutalisks. The best that I can think is that maybe because Monster opened up with Hydras first, Halpon's strategy has just not been to counter these mutas that came a little bit later. Our vultures again harassing in this natural, getting drones as they hatch. Now granted, there are drones in the main on this gas that could be moved over and used, but some nice burrow tactics trying to be used. But now there's a couple Sunkens coming down, which is going to force the vultures back. At this point, this Mutalisk Cloud could probably just A-move into this Terran base and just wipe it out if they wanted to. That's such a scary flock of mutas. They can pretty much one-shot anything they want, except maybe buildings, but like, yeah, any unit is just going to get one shot. Probably even a battle cruiser would just get one shot by this flock. Yeah, geez, the Halpon was... now we've got this giant SCV transfer here. Finally, the SCVs are moving from the... Where are they going, though? Because that bottom base is, like, mined out now. They're long... Are they coming down here to long distance? They're coming down here to long distance mine. Okay. This little broodling doing what it can here before I think its energy expires and it dies, but Halpon going with the long distance mining to continue to just build nothing but tanks against Mutalisk. This is rather interesting here. Now this one Mutalisk gets to have a field day, raining down glaive worms on these SCVs. Monster, meanwhile, has expanded down at the bottom right, where this engineering bay is still chilling. Going ahead and expanding up here, so Monster very much has control of this game. I'm going to go ahead and up this to 4 times for a bit here, because this is just getting silly at this point. Still a good game, though. So just thinking about this game, so we saw Halpon open up with an aggressive bunker at the natural, which canceled it, which forced Monster to go for Hydralisks at first, which sort of caused Halpon to get this army that counters Hydralisks, and then Monster swapped over to Mutas, and Halpon never really swapped over to counter that, which is unfortunate to see. I really feel like Halpon could have won this game if it had got its Goliath count up a bit. Let me go ahead and speed this up just one more time here, because really we're just waiting for the for Monster to clear up all these buildings. And again, just one more time, I do want to apologize for the way the audio kind of is on this episode. I don't know what... I didn't change anything with my setup, and everything is different. So I'm trying to work through it. Hopefully, the next time I do a cast, it won't be anywhere near as many issues with that. And now we just have the engineering bay, which does get sniped by the Mutalisk Cloud. So very awesome group of games here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us this week. It's been a very great, entertaining cast. We had a lot of fun matchups here today. I want to thank everybody for their continued support as well. Again, the links for the SSCAIT Discord are down in the description below, along with the Snail application if you want to download that and play against any of these AIs that are on the Snail app and available for play against, or if you want to do some fastest possible map against Crazio or BGH, it's all there on the Snail app. Check out that link down below. Again, thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care, everybody.